Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and friend of the channel, David, strikes again. He sent me a really curious case that I loved, that he thought I might want to talk about, and it is timely and brand new, and I love it. Okay, so here's the ruling. Here's the new law. A little bit of background. So you have the Americans with Disabilities Act on the federal level that requires that employers can give reasonable accommodations tied to disabilities to employees, right? And there's laws in New York State that do the same thing. New York State Human Rights Law, New York City Human Rights Law. There's a whole web of laws that protect this right. Now, on the other hand, the federal government has this agency called OSHA, right? And OSHA is in charge of workplace safety, and it promulgates rules about workplace safety, and theoretically also investigates workplace safety issues and like spot checks workplaces to make sure they're safe. Now we can have a conversation about how often they actually spot check, how behind they are on their investigations, and if they're still an active agency actually doing their job, or if they're just perhaps promulgating rules at this point. And that's a conversation that might be completely legitimate. But there's no question they exist, and they have a huge body of rules about what people should do to be safe in the workplace. Okay. Now, think about this. Sometimes a workplace accommodation might require that you break the OSHA guidelines. Ooh. And when that happens, who wins? The agency, OSHA, or the legislatively adopted law, the Americans with Disabilities Act, under the federal guidelines, right? In the state of New York, with the state laws, it's not such an issue because they say, hey, you gotta abide with OSHA. You got to give a reasonable accommodation, but you got to abide by OSHA. So it kind of takes care of that. There's not much of a question on that one. But on the federal level, it's not so clear cut. I don't think they really thought about things entirely when they passed the law. So you can run into issues where OSHA says, hey, you can't do this. It's not safe. But a letter of reasonable accommodation says, yeah, but I have a disability and I need that. Bit of a tension there, right? Who comes out on top? Also, what is this? Is this what I think? I guess this is pushing back and forth the two laws. Okay, so Bay versus City of New York, you have a couple of firefighters who have a skin condition. When they shave, they have I think a very painful reaction to that. Well, firefighters have to wear gas masks, because especially in New York City, the building materials that can be on fire, that firefighters are going into, can be extraordinarily toxic, right? I think currently still, but also for the past 100 years, a lot of the materials that go into skyscrapers, when they burn, whoa, it's bad, right? I mean, these are not things you want in your lungs. So the firefighters have gas masks, and those gas masks need these really tight seals, which you cannot achieve with a beard or stubble. Okay. So the OSHA guidelines very clearly are going to say, yeah, firefighters need to have tight seal on their masks so they don't inhale noxious fumes and die young and have horrible injuries and everything else. That makes sense. These gentlemen are going to say, hey, it's really, really difficult and challenging for me because of this medical condition to shave. I shouldn't have to. I need a reasonable accommodation. That also makes sense to an extent, right? Why should they be in pain, right? We want to do what's right. We want to help people. We want to have people who have medical conditions still be able to do jobs. So, yeah, that makes sense. Well, the courts have decided at least in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, they've decided that where a reasonable accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act asks you to then break an OSHA regulation, the OSHA regulation will trump that reasonable accommodation request that you're due under the ADA. And that's meaningful. I mean, we all it's not a shocking result, but it is an important result. It's important to know because there's not a lot of limitations, right? The world of reasonable accommodations, to my mind, is very amorphous, right? Whatever you need, whatever your doctor thinks you need, ask for it. Awesome. That's really great and inclusive, right? Well, there's got to be some limitations, I guess. And I mean, this is one of them, right? And it's good to know what the limitations are, because then we know, well, we can't help you, right? If somebody comes in, they're like, I've got a disability. When I'm working on skyscrapers, I can't wear the safety line. I have an anxiety condition, and the safety line freaks me out. And it doesn't matter if I'm 30 stories up. If I wear the safety line, it impacts my disability. Can't do it. So I want to work as a skyscraper builder, you know, putting up these incredible buildings, thousands of feet, hundreds, thousands, I don't even really know, over the city. But I can't wear my safety line. Pretty sure, following this rule, the guidelines are going to say, yeah, it stinks. It is horrible that you have that anxiety condition that somehow is triggered by your safety harness, and we're really, really sorry that you're experiencing that. However, you're probably not going to be able to get that accommodation to work 30 stories up without a safety harness. That's probably not going to work out for you, and probably not going to make for a great case. So there's the rules. Listen, is this set in stone? No. Could this be litigated further? Yes. Will this potentially be answered in different ways in other jurisdictions? Maybe. I kind of think this one might stick, though. If this video helped you, consider liking and subscribing. It really helps me to help more people just like you. Also, if you think I'm dumb and you want to tell me about it, you can comment down below. I do track the comments on the videos, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you about how you disagree with me and everything I say is wrong and my face is super stupid.